So, since I'm changing the method based on statistical reality, um, it's the method. I mean, it's just I was under some wrong assumptions, statistical assumptions, which I've been guilty of that ever since I started posting in this forum years ago. I could point out all the errors that I made in so many different threads over and over. Um, but that's and it took so stupidly long to finally figure out these mistakes and everything. But anyway, doesn't matter. The fact is, that I have. So I'm making this video to demonstrate what the new method is. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. And there we go. So anyway, this new method is just very simple. Right now, you can see, which it didn't necessarily intend, but you can see I'm betting 712. Okay, now the fastest. Well, that's interesting. Why I didn't bet 4-9 actually? As you can see, it's hitting very quickly, and 712. I mean, we don't even. Well, 9 is part of it, so as it turns out. But I don't know why I ended up being on 712. I should have chosen 4-9 because it's the fastest. This number is the highest, and so I should have been on this street right here, this double street. Anyway, I don't. It doesn't actually matter. It's just you want the fast ones, and what I'm finding out is that these um, black swan events. I mean, they tend to swarm around uh, slow numbers. Like this is really slow now. This is now becoming slow, but I think this is a side effect of this BSE because it weakens this one by 50%. So and so it just becomes like an epidemic. Now here, this is just standard statistics. There's no explanation. There's no connection between these and this one, but these two are definitely connected. Um, and it started with 31 to 36, and then this one fell 10 spins ago, and I think it's repeated more than like they had another one that repeated. So anyway, I'm staying away from this section of the board. This 25 to 30 is actually faster than 7 to 12, but I didn't take it because of this black swan event right here. So that's why I'm on 7 to 12. I should have been on 4 to 9 because it's the fastest on the board. But anyway, I'm just going to stay on 712. And I did my 3 bets at 2 chips. And now I'm just going to do every other bet until it fails at 1 chip. And I don't care about the counts. I'm not counting anymore. I don't care. I'm just it's going to stay at 712 until there's a black swan event. And then I'm going to move. And so let's just take some spins, and that's pretty much the method now. I mean, it's all about recovery. I mean, the key to the system is using the recovery system and setting the inclination upward. uh, Oops, gotta redo that. Anyway, setting the inclination upwards and carefully recovering the debt, and that's really the method. Here, we're just minimizing our exposure by betting only 3 times at 2 units, and then we don't care anymore. The statistics are going to get slightly better for us. I mean, it's always going to be getting worse at the more spins that we go, okay? But it's going to be slightly better for every spin the farther we go. So, and we're just going to stay. We're just going to go until it hits. We're not going to try to hide because the thing about that is if we try to, now that I understand that there's no connection between the gaps and the PLEs, there's no connection. The only thing that hiding does, like if I went into the shelter to spin through to the next one, that's just that doesn't work. That brings you closer to a black swan event. So it just makes the odds greater that you'll hit a black swan event by doing that. And so therefore I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to keep betting until the thing dies, okay, and until there's a failure, okay, and then I'm going to start the recovery on the same number, okay. I'm going to start the recovery on the same number, and I'm only going to change numbers if there's a black swan event somewhere nearby, whether it's on that number or whether it's on a nearby number. And maybe if my number turns slow or something, I want to get off of it because the slow numbers seem to attract the black swan events. This is what my current theory is. And so that's why I'm watching that right now. And you can see the slow numbers here are this one and this one. These were plagued with black swan events recently. This one's now plagued with black swan events. This is just normal statistics. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'll cut the video off at some point, because I got to go to work. So, um, but I just wanted to show you how simple the method is. I mean, you could almost do it at a land-based casino because it's just so simple. But the only thing missing, the only thing that we're not doing is tracking the black swan events on every. That's the one thing you can't do at a casino is track black swan events because you have to track every single number, and so that's what the computer's now good for is. So we stay away from the slow numbers. Okay, like Renaud said. I mean, that's we should be at the double streets that are hitting the fastest, that are delivering hits the most quickly. Um, in other words, they have the highest speed, and so that's the number we're on, and we're getting hits fast. I mean, you see, so I mean that's pretty much what we need to be doing. Does it mean we're gonna not run into slow hits? Of course we are, but it's um, hopefully less, and being on a fast number is the closest way of assuring that. So, and staying away also from the slow numbers because tend to they tend to get the BSEs. They tend to have failures, which is bizarre. But anyway, so it's almost like this. It's almost like you could like make it so simple, simplify it, make it so simple, and just say whatever a number is doing, it's more likely it's going to continue doing that than it is that it's going to change. I think that may very well be the statistical principle that applies to roulette. And so, therefore, if a number is doing something, more likely it's going to continue it. And that's kind of like the law of the third. I think that's where law of the third advocates come in. And they just, you know, whereas a sleeping number is more likely to sleep. So, and that's it. As far as bet selection goes, I kind of want to stay on the same number. The reason why I don't want to continuously number hop to the fastest number is that will engage the reverse engineering curse. Okay, at that point, I will receive a diminution in statistics. I'll end up encountering progression losses and black swan events at a higher rate. And so I don't want to do that. So I basically want to stay on one number as long as I possibly can. And that is going to limit my exposure. I only move when absolutely necessary. Okay, and so that limits my exposure. And so, you know, that's how that goes. And so we're just racking up the profit on a fast number here, fast selection, and it's hitting well for us. I mean, so I'm glad to hear it. 11. Okay, and we got 524.76, and I guess that's the real value of this software is that we can find out where the fastest numbers are and the slowest numbers are, and we know where they are at all times, and we can see when there's a black swan event nearby. Now, the other thing that I don't know how I'm going to deal with is progression losses. Like if I see a progression loss here or here, 4 to 9 or 10 to 15, if I see one while I'm betting here, should that affect my perspective? And how should it? Should it have no effect? And so the question is really, do progression losses on neighbors affect have an effect regarding progression losses on the number that you're on. Do they affect their neighbors, in other words? And I don't know. I might review some of my posts because I have some records regarding that, where I say, I noticed a progression loss, and so that's something that I can do to try to research that. I don't know at this point. I just know the black swans tend to clump together because they have a leaching effect on each other, on their neighbors, and so and I'm just right now we're on the sun deck. I mean everything's so cool. It's like if I get a loss, I'm like, no problem. It's like half of what I have a bankroll for anyway. So it's like, it's like doubling my bankroll. Every time I hit the sun deck, where I've already done 3 bets and I'm on now half units, it's like my bankroll just doubled. So, I mean that's and obviously my profit's not as high um, per coup as it normally would be, but it's I'll take the advantage in the smaller losses. So 0.87 and plus the longer, and then there's another advantage. We're going to take much longer runs. We're not going to go back into the shelter and spin. Okay, something just happened. Here's a progression loss event that just occurred on this double street. Okay, you can see this is a slow one. Okay, and so no statistical reason that I can point to because my whole assumptions were all wrong anyway. So anyway, this is a slow number. So I think they're going to tend to have more progression losses, tend to have more black swan events, and so we're just keeping an eye on this. That was number 3. So now we just keep going, and see what happens. I'm probably going to run this video for another 10 minutes, and then just cut it off. And yeah, things are simpler now. It's not quite as complicated as it was. I was making it way too complicated. I was working way too hard for too little profit. 1 second here. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now everything is just kickback. It's like totally kickback. I'm just enjoying the statistics, knowing what the statistics are, and choosing the best numbers to bet, and sticking on them, and just not risking a lot of money. Just like minimizing my risk, minimizing my exposure, um, you know, and also minimizing the profit per coup. But there is a counterbalance again in that I'm going to be taking longer jaunts. I'm not going to do the shelter anymore, so that's going to help offset it a little bit. Um, and so and it's much easier, so I'm much happier with it this way. And it's really all about recovery. And I've demonstrated how I recover, in the thread, but I don't know if I've really, and I've done it at the bullseye thread a lot too. So I hope it's clear what my strategy is. There's a formula. The formula is 75% of the debt, or it used to be 50 coups. Um, so I think we're just going to stick to 75% of the debt. I think 524.96. So what you do is you set targets that are lots way smaller than the actual debt for the level. So you use level. Let's say you're on level 3, so you're going to use level 3 to recover, but you're only going to recover 75% of the debt that was incurred at level 2. Okay, and then that's your target. It's less. Okay, and then once you hit 75%, you lower the chips. You go to level 2 on recovery, and then you're going to go 75% of the total debt. Okay, and then once you hit that, we can bet the rest on 1 unit. And so let's see, 3. Okay. Oh, okay. I got a raise. So here we go. Yeah, trying to talk and play at the same time here. So and that's really the key on. We're setting the incline upward by raising our chips. taking the smallest chunk that we possibly can. Let me see, that was 0, so now I'm going to go 4. Okay, and then raise. Just the minimum number of spins that we can possibly have and still recover a decent amount. I mean, that's pretty much the formula, and I've worked with 75% of the debt. That's how I've done that, and it's been working out great. I've been able to recover every single debt that I've been able to. That's on Bullseye and this method, and I've recovered massive amounts of debt. I mean, like come back from massive amounts of debt, and that's the key because the inside DeLambert guy, his whole success wasn't based on the inside DeLambert method. It's based on his ability to recover, and he said that he's had played roulette and studied roulette for years before he designed his system, and it's I know it's his method of recovery, and it's the one thing he discusses the least. The least is how he recovers, and we have a basic idea, and the rest is up to us. It's up to us. And that's what I've been working on, and this is what I've come up with, and it's working. So this recovery method works. Um, so and there's little tricks you can do, like you can go back to level one, but that's stupid. Okay, so we just had that noise was a progression loss event. I know the noise, the sound effect. All right, and here it is. All right, so a slow number. Okay, just took a progression loss event. Here, it's also noticed adjacent to this black swan event. I think they're connected. I think that this event, and I think that's the reason why we have a black swan event here, is because of this. I mean, the progression loss is augmented, made more frequent due to this black swan event. Um, okay, and so I'm just going to take one more coup and then call it a day here. Spin number 2, bet 1. So that was 25. Okay, we'll get one more coup, and that's the update. So I hope it's all clear and everything. Um, Yep. You just take smaller chunks of the debt. That's pretty much it, and you raise your chips to lock in the profit, so that you're not exposing yourself to massive drawdowns. The other thing that's very very important is using the shelter. The bomb shelter is still part of the system. We have to use it when we get hit with the black swan event. Okay, we have to, because you can get up to 6 black swan events in a row repetitively. And I personally, when using this system, have seen 5 in a row on a single number. Okay, and so there has to be a way of sheltering ourselves from that, and that's what it is. It's the bomb shelter, and we go in there. We get a black swan event. We're going into the shelter until it clears. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go 4. Okay, so we just got to get this coup out of the way. And haven't quite worked that out yet. I'm going to have to do some thinking about the whole thing. But there's got to be a method of sheltering ourselves. And I think it's proper to stay on a single number. But yeah, and just spin through it and make sure it's not a repetitive situation going on, and that's going to protect our profit. And I've shown you in this thread, I've shown you that I've saved thousands of dollars, or units, whatever. um, okay, so 524.92, and let's see how much profit that is. um, let's see here. Okay, so we were at 523.93. Okay, so it was 99 units. So okay, well, and I'm cutting it short, obviously, but that's not bad at all. So, um, Yep. All right. So you guys are updated. I'm gonna work on what happens when we get hit with a progression loss. Pretty sure what we're going to do is we're going to come right back in and start recovery on the same number. We get hit with the Black Swan event. We're going to go into the shelter. We're going to spin. Let me think about that. I have to think about that. I need to think. Um, I need to rethink it. Okay, it's going to be something similar to that, but it's not going to be the same. It won't be 50 coups. It's going to be. I've really got to think. It'll have to be based around the recovery and the what is the average number of coups to gain 75% of a debt. And then that will create a coup window, and then that coup window is going to determine what a black swan event is, I guess. Um, I don't know. I got a lot of thinking to do about that, but it's going to change on the something's changing. I'll let you guys know what it is, and thanks for watching.